Hello there, friends. My name is Rachel GNS. Middle Gilbert and Sullivan is my middle name, and my middle name is my last name. And I am here on behalf of Forbear Theatre to explore the magic of the Gilbert and Sullivan operas by very pedantically ranking every element of them. And, oh, there's someone else here with me. Oh, how did you get in here?
Well, you let me in. Hello. My name's David Woods. I'm a singer, I'm a tenor, and we are discussing today the tenor roles.
The tenor roles. We've already done the tenor arias, so we're now doing the tenor roles. So, you're a tenor, aren't you, David?
I am a tenor indeed. I've done most of the parts. I haven't done all of them, but I've done quite a lot. And even some baritone ones as well, but unfortunately not ranking those today.
Which baritone roles have you done?
I've done Robin, Strephon, I've done Samuel.
I know which other one you've done. You've done Jack Point as well.
Done Jack Point, yeah.
Yes.
A few other ones. But I've done more of the tenor parts than not, and some of them more than once.
And so. You've performed some of these roles for the National GNS Opera Company, haven't you? Or just you
I
did
Leonard. I also did Louis,
nice,
which was actually a baritone part. I did that as well. But
that's awesome. And you've played 3 of these roles for the greatest GNS company in the world, haven't you?
The best of all of them. Which is your one.
Exactly, there we go. But we'll get to that as we go further through the video. What I did was I decided what the parameters were going to be for this one, and then I gave them to David, and then I changed them, and then he changed, and then I gave them to him again, and then we scored them together, and then added the marks up.
It's a highly scientific process.
I am on a constant crusade trying not to get ties, and so I did this out of 80, and David scored them out of 80, yet we still had a 3-way tie. Like, how does this keep happening? So we had
science. Clearly the facts are telling us that.
So we had to do like a little bit of diddling. So the parameters we discussed are: we did a mark out of 20 for music, we did a mark out of 20 for lyrics/dialogue, a mark out of 10 for importance to the narrative, a mark out of 10 for dramatic stakes, and a mark out of 10 for emotional complexity. How would you describe the difference between those two categories?
Well, emotional complexity, how well-rounded a character is, I think. How fleshed out, how much you can... When you perform a character, are you just standing there being the tenor role? Are you standing there feeling, I am this character, I know, kind of? And
because I think that there are definitely some characters in GNS that are very dramatic without being emotional, and there are some characters that are very emotional without being too dramatic.
I agree.
So.
I mean, can we go into details already with certain characters?
Well,
there are definitely certain characters that are, and it's not to say how fun they are to play, it's just how real you feel you are when you're playing that part. And there's definitely some where, that's more true than others, even the bigger parts. Yeah,
and then our final category is the subjective category. We just did a mark out of 10 for enjoyment, and
the rest is obviously not subjective at all. The rest is entirely objective.
It's completely objective. Science.
Yeah, science. Certainly.
And your enjoyment score, I'd say, is probably a bit more valid than mine because you've actually played most of these roles. My enjoyment just comes from imagining myself playing them.
Have you ever played any of them?
No.
I wondered if you'd maybe done one.
No, I have never played any of them, only in my dreams. By our calculations, there are 18 tenor roles in the canon that are not chorus principals, but some of them are so small that they've done badly simply by virtue of them being
there's one in particular I feel quite bad about, but that's just the way it is.
So sad. I think I know which one that is. So we start off in 18th place with Mars from THESPIS.
I don't know THESPIS.
So you don't. So he doesn't know THESPIS. So what I did in this case, and for the Utopia and Grand Duke ones, which David doesn't really know, I just doubled my score. So I was the sole score giver of those ones. But Mars is scientific. Just the thing is, because none of those characters I knew were ever going to do super well, in this instance, it doesn't really matter so much. And actually, I found that there were only a couple of cases where mine and David's scores really differed. One has shattered my heart. He managed to move one of my characters down about 8 places, which we are going to have words about. But he's also moved one of mine way up. So we will see.
So what did you give Mars?
I gave Mars a 6 out of 20 for music. We don't know what the music is for THESPIS, which is an issue.
That's quite a big issue for that.
But we can also just ascertain from what kind of pieces he's in. He's in that trio, which I discussed last time, which is probably was all right. It's one of the few examples of Sullivan writing a piece with characters that are meant to be angry. And I think Sullivan actually does quite a good job with angry characters. Like with that lovely second act aria that Alexis has. So I don't see any reason why that would have been bad, but that's pretty much all Mars has. Like, Mars has so little material. He's got so little dialogue. Honestly, it's about 2 or 3 lines or something. It's really not very much at all.
Yeah. What marks did you give that?
I'm just going to briefly fact check that, but I really don't think that Mars has. This is I'm just using my Henty Baker score for this.
So in terms of lyrics, then we've got that rather than the.
I gave him a 5 for the lyrics again.
Out of 20.
Okay, his lines are A, what? Using an ear trumpet, and those were the good old days.
Truly Gilbert's finest lines.
And then he says, A, what? Again.
It's like the old man in Sorcerer.
Yeah. And then he says, no, thank ye, I've already dined. And then he says, what? So as you can see, he's a very well fleshed out character. To be fair, I don't think Mars was meant to be that big of a character, and I can imagine, I don't have to imagine it because I've seen it. I have actually seen someone do this character very well when we did it with THESPIS, but it's just not a character that I imagine people would really want to play.
Yeah, I mean, he's not on my bucket list, I'll be honest.
Yeah. I gave him a 4 for importance of the narrative. He is one of the gods that has grown old, as per the alternative title. But apart from that, he himself and his character has absolutely no
Revelations?
relevance to the story. I gave him a 5 for dramatic stakes because he gets that kind of angry song. So there is something, he does get to experience dramaticness and emotion. And I gave him a 5 out of 10 for emotional complexity because he clearly is upset about the situation, but it's just we don't really care about him. And then I gave him a 5 for enjoyment, which I thought was kind of generous. You can be quite funny with pretending to be deaf, I guess. It's a classic, pretending to be deaf.
I know, it's great.
Who doesn't want to pretend to be deaf? So, number 17 on the list is also one that I'm afraid you don't really know too much about. I promise you David does know things.
I'll talk
But the trouble is we're starting off with quite a lot of these little characters that he doesn't really know about because he doesn't know Utopia Limited. But we have coming in at number 17 Sir Bailey Barre, who is actually like one of my very favourites. I love Sir Bailey Barre.
So why is he so low?
Because he's quite a small part. But what he does have, I mean, it's cute. I gave him a 12 out of 20 for music, and considering how little he has, that's actually a really good score. Yes, 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 yes is but another and a neater form of no. He's great. He's one of these characters that says yes a lot. And he gets to sing in Society has quite forsaken all of that. You know that lovely... Like,
I've done that.
You know that. You know bits of Utopia.
Yeah.
And that's just such a banger. So he gets to be in that.
That's a good bit.
But I gave him a 7 for lyrics / dialogue because I don't believe he has any dialogue. It's possible he has like one line in that scene. I would look it up in the Bradley, but I'm not going to. Increase your army. Fortify your court. Get up your steam because it comes to speak on both sides. Teach your sluggish brains. That's a good one. Widen your thoroughfares and flush your drains. That's not him. I just like that.
That's a better line though.
To speak on both sides. Teach your sluggish brains. I'm not sure I got the notes of that right, but something like that. And it's cool. So Bailey Barre is great. And his little line is lovely. It's just that he's just a very small part and he has no dramatic or emotional complexity. I gave him a 3 for his importance to narrative. I gave him a 3 for dramatic stakes and a 3 for emotional complexity. There's nothing to this guy. He's just a fun little kind of cameo. Yeah. I did give him a 6 for enjoyment though. Yeah. Honestly, like I love Sir Bailey Barre. I love him. You right there, Kitty? Kitty's doing some mountaineering. So, we then move on to number 16, who you will be able to talk to me about. 16 is our favourite tenor from the Yeomen of the Guard. And, well, not really.
Not really. I'll say everyone's second favourite tenor.
Tell me about your trousers.
Oh God! So this is the part I did with this. So this is the part I feel bad about giving such a low mark.
This is Leonard Merrill, by the way.
Leonard Merrill from Yeomen of the Guard. So I did it with National Gilbert Sullivan Company. And it was great fun. Really enjoyed doing it. But I had the worst costume out of anybody in that whole show, the whole tour, to be honest.
Was this the 2019?
Yeah, 2019. And
so you can check that out on GS Opera TV if you want to see what we're talking about.
They were so short. I had green tights, and then I had these little red boxes, but they were like it was like a mini. It was so high up. And I tried to pull it down because they were elastic. They just pulled back up again. It was awful. I even got a wrench in the review. It said the costumes. They literally said something like the costumes are all spectacular apart from poor Leonard.
Poor Leonard. Because I
legs.
remember, I really wish I'd seen that now purely for those trousers because I had hardly any money that year, so I decided I was going to see one of the pro shows, and I really wanted to see the Gondoliers because John Savonin was directing that, wasn't he?
Show, yeah.
And he was playing Louis, so I was like, okay, well, I'd rather see him as Louis and Leonard. So I saw that instead, but now I'm very sad I didn't see that.
The trousers was probably the only thing, that you missed out.
It was worth going for.
I feel bad about Leonard because he does get that lovely duet trio.
Yeah.
I really like that trio, so I've given him for music, where is he? I'll give him 15 for music, just for that.
Yeah,
it's a lovely trio.
That's lovely. I actually only gave him an 11, and actually maybe that was mean. Because I feel like maybe bar 12.
I feel like that's a bit over. Maybe I've overdone it a bit with 15 because.
No, you know what? I'm going to give him some more marks because he's still really far away from the one above him. So I'm going to give him a couple more marks for music. I'm going to give him a 14 for music.
I mean, it's just the thing is that is pretty much all he does. It's just that trio. It's a lovely, lovely trio. But
he does have some really good lines in that scene at the end with Wilfred as well.
Yeah, he gets sorted out.
Like another brother, and it's that's.
But then all the jokes come from Wilfred's.
They do, but it's also fun to be there and be like the vehicle for other people to be funny.
The tenor often does that, and actually reacting well to the jokes is actually quite a big part because you've got to direct the comedy. Yeah. So if someone is giving a good line, you don't then steal it and try and What
does he say when he comes on? It's like I have such glad news or something. That's
quite
funny what he
says.
I
bring good news or so. It's not. I don't think it's that great. It's just
it doesn't. Isn't the word he uses really
funny?
Phoebe rejoiced, for I bring glad tidings. Colonel Fairfax's reprieve was signed 2 days since, but was foully and maliciously cut. It's just the fact that he comes on just says this.
And having not been in the show for about.
And it's the fact that he's obviously interrupting some kind of tete-a-tete as well. Phoebe rejoiced, for I bring glad tidings. And it's just the fact that he's delivering this really clunky exposition at 11 p.m.
Just burst in, middle of the scene.
At the very end of the show, just bursts like, whoa, okay, who is this guy? Who designed that it should arrive after the Colonel's death. It hath just come to hand and is now in the Lieutenant's possession. Yeah, I love that. No, wait, that's all he says.
Yeah, that's it. He has one speech, and then he gets.
That is hilarious. For some reason, I thought he said more than that. That's crazy.
That's why I've only given him a 10.
That's fair.
Great. It's fine. He gets the job done, but it isn't amazing.
What did you give him for importance to the narrative?
I feel like I'm a bit harsh here. A 3.
Yeah, I only gave him a 4.
Yeah, I mean he is important in that
he does get talked about a lot, though.
He does get talked about a lot. That's the one thing, and that's what I mean. He is important. But then
they're really talking about Fairfax in a lot of these scenarios.
He is important because of all his deeds of daring do, and that's why that he's able to impersonate him. But he doesn't actually do anything in the show. But they talk about him a lot.
Isn't that so funny? Isn't that that?
He's probably going to be the one who's talked about more than actually being in it in any of the roles.
That is something that I've never thought about, and actually that is kind of hilarious. The fact that there's this guy who has apparently done so much stuff. He's done all these crazy things and saved so many lives, and then he just comes on and he's just really boring guy.
2 lines of dialogue and a bit of nothing. No one recognises him.
And it's just okay.
No one realises that Fairfax isn't him.
I find that really funny.
Yeah.
I think that's good. That's quite funny in itself.
2 for stakes. He does get a sword out, but
I
gave
him a 6 for dramatic stakes.
Really?
I find that Alas I Waver to and Fro, that is really tense, that number. It's a good trio.
I might have been really hard on him. I did change it from a 6.
And he actually does experience, I think, more kind of tension and stakes and a lot of these really important characters do. Just in virtue of that one trio.
Emotional complexity 2.
I gave him a 4,
enjoyment, again, that's probably a bit harsh here, but 5. I did enjoy playing it.
I gave him a 5 as well.
But really, you do that trio, it's great, and then you are not in the show.
Yeah, but did you get to be a yeoman?
I did. I was in that. But that's not Leonard though. I was playing a yeoman there. I was in the.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So,
Who's up next?
number 15 is another one that I'm afraid you don't know much about.
I'll just do this
is Lord Dramaleigh. Or Dramaleigh. Lee.
Is that Utopia again?
Yeah.
Mm.
He is slightly bigger than Sir Bailey Barre because he does actually come on in Act 2 and he gets to be part of a really nice quartet. And sometimes he's even given a verse of that terrible song that Will and I were discussing the other week, which is, it's lovely, but it's also just a bit like gross and sexist and weird. A wonderful joy our eyes to bless, that one.
Oh, I know the one.
But he doesn't officially get to be in that one, but often he is. But then he does get to be in Then I May Sing and Play You May, Then I May Laugh, and that lovely quartet. Do you know that one?
I don't know that one. I'm never.
Oh my god, you should look it up. The quartet is awesome. So he gets to be in that, and he gets a few lines which I used to think were also pretty sexist lines as well, but then Will allowed me to think about it in a different way. Like if you don't imagine that Goldberry and Dramaleigh are after the twins, because they don't actually have to be. They could just be like guys hanging out and just givering and just giving these teenagers advice. You know?
Of course.
And it doesn't have to be predatory. And I think it's important that it's not. I think it's a bit gross when it is. But yeah, Dramaleigh, he's cool. He's the Lord High Chamberlain. He gets a really nice little verse in the Act 1 finale. He gets to be Society is Quite Forsaken. So I gave him a 14 for music, because he doesn't have that much, but what he has is pretty fit.
Kind of like Leonard then.
Yeah, but I gave him a 10 for his lyrics dialogue, because as I say, it's just the Utopia dialogue is not the best.
And Tenor's rare to get the best.
Bless
dialogue.
it. He's not even the main. He's like a weird, like, secondary tenor that doesn't. He's not really much of a character. He's just one of the flowers of progress, and you don't really get a solid idea of who he is. I gave him a 6 for his importance to narrative because he is one of the flowers of progress that comes in to change utopian society. But apart from that, there's not really much more to him. He gets a 5 for dramatic stakes, which, if anything, was actually quite generous. But he just gets to be part of the whole dramaticness of the Act 1 finale, etc. And I actually gave him a 6 for emotional complexity because that little section that he sings with the twins, I think, is actually, it could be quite sweet if it was done in a nice, wholesome, instructive way and not in a kind of predatory way. But it is weird because these guys have come because the twins have been taught, you know, the although of native makes a cream, like they've been taught to be really stiff and English. But then Dramaleigh comes and says, oh no, you don't have to be like that. It's like, what are you saying here, Gilbert? I don't get it. This is the problem that me and Will have with Utopia Limited, like this section here with the twins and these two guys. It doesn't really make much narrative sense and it's irritating. But I gave him a 7 out of 10 for enjoyment because I think that people really love that quartet and it's just like a fun part to play because you get to be in lots of stuff, but there's not that much heavy lifting. And those are some of the best parts.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are often the most enjoyable parts.
The one we're going to get into later, which is one of my favourite ever tenor roles, actually has very little material, but he's one of my favourite roles. But we're going to get into him in a moment. So, number 14 is one that you do know. Number 14, we are giving to Cyril from Princess Ida. I was slightly surprised he came as low as he did, but
yeah, I mean, I think, so I gave him 14 for music.
I gave him an 18 for music.
14, which actually I gave him less than Hilarion. I gave Hilarion slightly more for music.
Oh, natürlich.
Yeah, of course. But I love the music in Ida.
Yeah.
As I think most people do. It's terrific music. I don't think Cyril gets the best music.
You're thinking mainly of his solo, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, what did I give that one? I think I gave like a 15 or a 16. That song individually. I'm also thinking, though, of the fact that he gets to be in those two trios, which are both really good musically.
Actually, yeah. The
Woman of the Wisest Wit.
Those trios are fantastic.
World has But a Broken Toy.
Yeah. But I did give him a 14. Like I haven't given him low mark.
He's also got a really awesome bit in Merrily Ring the Luncheon Bell. Hunger is something is highly indelicate that something is an apple. I don't know this song too well, actually. This is like one of the ones that I just always forget it exists.
He just gets, okay, fair enough, he gets great ensembles. And
appetite keen I am, I'll subdue it, I'll subdue it, I'll subdue it with cold roast lamb.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that, I mean, that's pretty basic. Yeah. That's not particularly good. I just find it funny that he's singing about lamb.
Like, I've given him a 14. Some music some reggae music. I don't feel like he's necessarily like carrying it or really kind of giving it, the really the sort of the main part in there. But he's involved in those and stuff, and you really like the
Yeah, so I can see why you didn't give him a high mark because it's related. Yeah, exactly, and that's. Basically, he just has loads of good ensemble work, so maybe I was a little generous with my 18. But
maybe I'm overthinking with the solo, but the solo's got to be good. Your solo's
got to be
absolutely.
Really you're right.
I mean, there's one later on where I've given a really high mark for the music, just almost based on the strength of his one. I mean, there's more to it just that, but that really is a big part of it.
Daenerys, you are such a good host, aren't you?
Yeah, she's been very good. Walking on over me.
Daenerys is a very good host. She needs to make sure that people know that they belong to her. Isn't that right? You see, some cats hate strangers, but Daenerys she's very gregarious.
What did you give Cyril lyrics and dialogue?
12.
14.
Yeah.
Oh, I was more generous.
100 girls, 100 ecstasies. Oh, yeah. I just. I mean, a lot of his lines are a bit it's just gross.
A bit, yeah.
And so I think that his lines are tainted for me by the fact that they're a bit unkind towards.
But even on their own terms, I sort of think that's even that great.
They're not funny.
Even if you are going from the point of view of it's still not that funny.
Oh, actually, this is a good one. Nature never errs. To those who know the workings of your mind, your face and figure, sir, suggest a book appropriately bound. That's the good line. I do like that line.
We haven't given him a really low mark.
No.
It's
but that 100 girls, 100 ecstasies.
Does that mark it down for you, that line?
Yeah, and with all my heart, if she's the prettiest, oh, for goodness sake.
But Ida's all full of that. That's that's one of my main problems with Hilarion, if I get to.
Yeah, but I do find Cyril a bit gross in places, which is what brings him down ever so slightly in my book. But I do appreciate that there are ways to do Princess Ida to really highlight the grossness of Cyril and not to play him as a person that is supposed to be kind of liked by the audience. So you can still be liked as an actor because you're just being really gross. And sexist, but in an over the top way.
His song you can do a lot. You can have a lot of fun with that.
But it's when people play him like a hero. No, he's not.
Yeah, but he's a lad.
Yeah, it's like play him like a lad.
He's a lad. He's a jokey lad. But you can say, he's funny, but he's a bit gross. But
he's
funny.
Make him the butt of the joke. And then it's hilarious.
Yeah, I agree.
So I really do encourage people to just lean into the sexism. Because then, it'll show how stupid it is. You know what I mean? Importance to narrative. I gave him a 6.
I gave him a 7. He's, pretty important.
He's pretty important.
He does drive. I mean, like we were saying, he's in a lot of those ensembles. He's not a key part, but he is there. Yeah. He's involved in the plot the whole way. He's not like Leonard, who just...
another way I establish importance to narrative is thinking, do they make any decisions which drive the plot?
Okay, that's a good point.
And actually, he does decide to get drunk, which reveals them as men.
Yeah.
But is that really a decision that's driven the plot because it's an accident? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a funny one.
More, yeah.
But that's the only thing he does that's like a turning point that actually changes the course of the story. Dramatic stakes. What have you given him for that?
5.
Yeah, I gave him a 6. Actually 6 is pretty generous because...
I mean, they're undercover and stuff, but they don't take it seriously. They're not worried. They're not actually...
But I am thinking of the Act 2 finale. There are some real stakes there, and there is real danger. Yeah. So that's why I gave him a 6 rather than a 5.
Fair enough. I agree with that. But mostly throughout, there's just a lot of they're just not that fast. There's no real, other than the end. There's no real danger.
Yeah, and I gave him a 6 for his emotional complexity.
I gave him a 5 for his emotional complexity. Again, pretty much the same reason. It's just as a well-rounded character, he's a pretty general character.
Yeah, there's not really
There's nothing really too much to him.
But anything there isn't particularly positive.
Yeah, I agree.
But what did you give him for enjoyment?
6.
I gave him a 9 for enjoyment. Yes, I did.
9.
Because I know that people love to play this role.
That's a good point.
I know that there are a couple of people who I know that are like, oh, I don't want to play Hilarion, but I would always accept Cyril.
Oh, you know what? I think you're absolutely right, actually.
Yeah,
Well, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because when I've seen this before, and the actor playing Cyril did steal the show.
Yeah,
so,
I think Cyril does have show-stealing properties.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, the show-stealing potential.
Potential. That's what I meant.
I don't know. You're right. You're right. But again, that's largely down to the performer. I don't think the part itself is a scene-stealing role. I think you can make it into a scene-stealing performance. But again, you can get carried away with it, and it can just be a bit of a distraction if you're not careful. I think it's it's fun, but whether it's fun in the right way.
It's one of those ones that I think that people can fall into the trap of thinking, oh, he's inherently funny because he's dressed up as a girl and being drunk. But I think that if people really think about him and think about, right, how can I make this song the funniest it's ever been, and put real thought into it, then I think this character does have the potential to be much higher on this list.
It's down to the individual performer, and I think it's more down to them rather than the actual role.
Cyril takes real work because his material on its own isn't great. But other characters, as you say, higher up, if you just play them totally straight,
it would still work.
It would still be great. Yeah. So that is Cyril. We are now on to number 13. This is another one that you don't know, but you will know it a bit because you would have seen this.
Yeah.
It's Ernest from the Grand Duke. Have you seen the Grand Duke?
No. I don't know the Grand Duke. I said I don't know it at all.
Not seen it?
Not seen it.
Not even
seen
the Grand Duke. Oh my god. So okay. Well, you're gonna get to see the Grand Duke because I'm doing it in June with Glock, Grosvenor Light Opera Company, and we just had a rehearsal for it last night, and it's going really well, and I'm having a really good time. Ernest. He's a great part, but he's one of these parts that's like a little bit like the Duke and Tolloller, where he's not actually the main part, and he's missing for a ton of the show. Yeah. So basically, he disappears just over halfway through Act 1, and then he reappears about 2/3 of the way through Act 2. So he doesn't get to be in any of the Act 1 finale, which is one of the best parts of the Grand Duke. So he does. This is why he's so low down the list. His material's pretty good, but he's not the main part. And actually, and this is also a really bizarre thing. This is really unusual for a GNS character, but he is less important than his female romantic partner.
Ooh.
And that never happens. But he is paired with Julia, who is one of the best characters in the canon.
So it's a pairing, pretty
solid. And he is just. Like, she very much controls every scene that they're in together, and his only character trait really is being in love with her. And
even the bland roles have a little bit more going.
But he does have some really good lines, because one of the best pre-song lines actually he has, which is someone says to him, one of the 4 girls say, "Oh, it's quite clear he knows how to rule a grand duchy." And then Ernest says, "My good girl, for the last X number of years, I've ruled a theatrical company. A man who can do that can rule anything." And I know, and I said this in a different video before, but like to run a theatre company, you have to have every skill, like every single skill. When I went to direct the National GNS Opera Company, which you have also performed for, when I went to direct that, when I turned up and like sat down on my little director table, there was somebody with me who was a stage manager, and whenever I said something like, "Oh, do we have a rope here, or do we have like handcuffs or whatever," he would write it down and he would get the prop. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I don't have to find it myself.
Like, okay. And he would write down like who had to carry each prop on and off stage. And he would write down like what side of the stage people were going off and coming on. I'm like, wow, I've never had a stage manager before. This is weird. This is so weird. I was like, oh god. It was good, but it was unnerving because I was like, I'm used to doing all this myself. I feel like oddly.
Do you find it akin with?
But I love Ernest.
Do you find it akin with Ernest then?
Definitely, because he's this really in control guy who's really popular, but then as soon as everyone goes off stage, it's like, oh. I should be happy, but no, because the lovely English comedian, the beautiful Julia. But he's a great character. He's got some great lines. He's got some really funny lines. I gave him a 15 for music, because what he does have is great, but it's just he's missing for so much of it. And he doesn't really have... Well, he does have an aria, which has chorus responses, but that isn't that good. His aria, I don't think, is the best. But he has some lovely music. His duet with Julia, mwah, it's great. 14 for lyrics dialogue. It was good, but Importance of narrative. I did give him a 7 for that because he does play an important part of the whole statutory duel situation.
But he's not in quite a lot of it.
He's not in quite a lot of it, but he does facilitate a turning point, and his decisions do somewhat drive the plot. Yeah, and he is also one of the 3 guys that come in at the end and say forbear, 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 which is where I got the name. The
very forbear, yeah.
Yeah, because there's lots of forbears in GNS, but the one that I named my theatre company after is that one. It's the one that Ernest says. So there we go. Then I gave him a 7 for dramatic stakes and a 7 for emotional complexity, because we do get to understand him a bit as a character. We kind of know who he is. It's just that he doesn't get enough stage time to really show that. And he's overshadowed in all his scenes by how awesome Julia is. So there's only so much an actor playing Ernest can really do to steal the show. I don't know if that's... He's not really a show-stealing part. But hey, maybe. Who knows? I gave him a 6 for enjoyment. Because, again, I do think he's a fun part, but he's not one that a lot of tenors I know who actually really know this part, he's not one that people particularly want to play. So, moving on to number 12, and this one may be upsetting to David, but he deserves it because he upset me with some of his choices.
What?
You deserve to be upset. I'm going to cause you pain in the next 10 seconds. Number 12 is the Defendant from Trial by Jury.
I love Defendant. So I actually love Defendant. My hot take is that actually Trial by Jury is possibly the best of all GNSs. I think it's fab. I think it's tight and taut. Okay. The whole thing flows really well. I think Defendant's a great part.
What do you think about when the judge says, well, let's get him tipsy, gentlemen?
And see.
And then...
And try, sorry.
And yeah. And then nothing happens and he doesn't get tipsy and then the show just ends.
Well, because it's just a joke.
That's the bit of it I find weak, because the tension's amping up. Do he says when tipsy, there's nothing like that. And you think, it's going to happen. Oh no, the show's ended.
Surely it'd be much worse if they got drunk and then actually tried to beat her up. Surely that's how worse.
Maybe
outcome. You know what I mean? And then hilarious. I don't think it would work. And the tone of the show, because it's so short. Yeah. I think it has to keep light. It hasn't got room to allow darkness in there in the way that perhaps some of the longer shows would.
Oh, totally. But I imagine there'd be ways of getting around it so he wouldn't actually try and
fair enough.
But I just imagine that if he got drunk and had another song, that might be quite funny.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do love Trial by Jury. I think it works really well for what it is. I just think that, okay, seriously, if I just said to you, okay, Forbear Theatre have just got a generous donation of, 50 grand, and we can put on a really good, high-budget show, and we can pick any of them, would you pick Trial by Jury?
Well, no, because if you got but if on a small, that's completely hypothetical. On a small setting, I think it's a very adaptable show. Obviously, we're not talking about role here, but you can do that show anyway. You can do small scale, come and sing events. They work really well.
That's true.
It's a really attractive show. The choruses are great. It's really involved. Yeah. It's a lovely show. The Defendant has.
It does work really well for potlucks.
It does.
GNS, and actually, everyone's always so happy in those potlucks, and everyone knows it. Really well.
And it's a real crowd pleaser. I think it's
and
genuinely
the thing is,
really funny.
like, you actually never get to see it done on stages because no one ever does it with an orchestra.
Rarely. And it's often done, and it's very, you can do a lot of stuff with it. We did it, and it was like a celebrity, you know, breakup wedding, and it was
cool.
you know, marriage and
stuff. Charles Court Opera does a really, really funny one.
Yeah. And I basically was shirtless, sort of sat there with sort of
nice.
jacket over,
I think it's that kind of vibe.
You know, and the Defendant's a really fun part. It's just really fun. So I have admittedly given him only a 13 for music because
that's what I gave him.
His music is like fine.
It's a bit vanilla.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, some really good ensembles in there. He's in there quite a lot. Lyrics, again, only a 12. Considering how much I'm defending him here, defending the Defendant, I haven't given him great marks, but I have given him a 9 to important narrative.
Me too. Because we have the same marks for this guy.
But he's, you know, obviously one of the two you know, most important parts of this story. I gave him a 9.
The only reason I didn't give him a 10 is because there's just maybe a couple of characters later on who I feel are more inextricably linked to the narrative than this one. But
he's a key part of the narrative, but also doesn't necessarily make the decisions that actually affect the plot.
Yeah.
Stakes 8. I mean, you know, it's pretty dramatic. It's getting divorced.
I only gave him a 5 for that because he doesn't care.
Yeah, but he still turned up.
I find he's very blasé about the whole thing. Do you not
think
that?
I agree, but that doesn't mean the stakes aren't high for him. He wants to get divorced. And he's taking it seriously. He's you know, he stands up. I smoke like a flash kicker.
But he's just so chill.
Yeah, such a very bad lot. You know, he stands up and, you know, defames himself in court just to get
when you think about some of the ones that you've given 10 to, like look down your list and look at the dramatic stakes that you've given to characters that you think are better.
Yeah.
And look inside yourself and say,
I've given him
does the Defendant really have that same stakes?
Yeah. Okay, maybe not quite as high. But then that's why he's only got an 8, not a 10.
Hey, cool.
Emotional complexity, I've given him a 7. You know what, actually...
Yeah, me too. No, I gave him a 7 for emotional complexity.
Actually, I'm going to switch those around, so the score hasn't changed.
Okay.
I've given him a 7 for stakes and an 8 for emotional complexity.
Okay, no, that's fair, because
I think you're right about the stakes. Like, they're not as high, so maybe 8 is a bit generous. Okay. But 8 for emotional complexity because he's a really, you know, he is quite a well-rounded guy. He is a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
But he knows it. He's got swagger. His song that he sings, he plays guitar. He's really, you know, he knows what he's about. That is actually
true. You know what? You actually really do get who the Defendant is.
You do.
In a way that you don't...
He sings a backstory. He has a whole backstory. It makes his point of view. But that might even tell you more about him than it does about his actual backstory. The way he's telling it with the guitar.
Yeah.
He's winning everyone round. You know, that tells you what kind of a person he is. And I think that's, you know...
Yeah, because I only gave him a 7 for that. But actually I'm thinking, maybe he does deserve a bit higher for that.
Because he's on show when he's telling when he's singing that first aria and he's deliberately selling to the crowd. That tells you more about him as a character.
That is very fair and very true. And he really does give you a sense of who he is.
Yeah.
In a way that some of these other characters do not.
Yeah.
Even some of the ones very high up on the list don't really give you as much character as the Defendant does.
Yeah. He's a charming cad.
Yes, he is a bit of a cad,
He is a bit of a cad.
Yeah.
You cad.
Kitty!
Kitty, yeah, go on.
Kitty girl. Kitty, come on. Oh, sorry, Kitty. Kitty habitually walks across my neck at night and will wake me up doing that. So, you know, sometimes she does deserve to, she doesn't deserve to be uncomfortable, but she
gives as good as she gets. I gave him a 10 for enjoyment.
Okay, I gave him an 8 for enjoyment. I think I do think that people do really enjoy both watching and playing this role.
My first 4 marks of this countdown is for that.
Oh, okay.
In terms of where we are now.
I've not given any. I think my first 10 comes in.
Fair enough, but that's my first full marks is 10 out of 10 enjoyment for Defendant.
Yeah.
It's just such a fun part. You can swagger the guitar. You know, he's cool.
You know what? I'm going to say actually that the one above this only got 1 point more, and I'm actually thinking that maybe these two do get switched. Because, I don't know, now you are kind of warming me up to the Defendant a bit, because the trouble is I do have this bias against Trial because it's so short, but how fair is that? Maybe that's not very fair. I should be treating it for what it is.
Your thing about how he should get drunk at the end, I think that would work if it was a longer story, but it isn't. It is meant to be short and quick and fun, and it is short, quick and fun. I think it works really well for that. There's no flab.
Yeah, absolutely. And people should do Trial by Jury more with an orchestra. And as me and Will were discussing with the baritone arias the other week, the council song is really good.
Yeah.
The Usher.
Usher's a really fun part, actually.
Like, I actually really love Trial by Jury, and I'm sad that I keep putting it so low down. I think it's the lack of stakes in it for me, and it's just so kind of short. Kitty, you are just so excited that David is here, aren't you?
Sorry.
Okay, so number 11, or possibly 12, if we switch it with the one below it. We have given this one to Tolloller from IOLANTHE.
Tolloller is
Have you? Well, yeah.
I don't know you. He's. I don't mean this in a bad way, but he is kind of glorified chorus, and I don't mean that in a bad way because he is so involved in the chorus. So he's very
technically, in a way, kind of a chorus.
Yeah, he is kind of a chorus.
The only reason I put him in a separate category is because his needs and wants do eventually differ from the chorus.
I agree. I mean, obviously he's not. Yeah, he's a lot.
And that is my measure for a chorus principal. It's not how big the part is. It's do they have separate needs and wants to the chorus? And
because there's so many little parts that you could have included in it that just don't, gondoliers and things.
So, like, annoyingly, Kate from YEOMEN isn't actually a chorus principal. No. So she just ranks right at the bottom.
Yes,
right. It's a shame. But Tolloller. So tell me about your experience of playing Tolloller.
Well, I mean, I think that it's another part where you get out what you give. So if you work and you create more of a character to it, then there's a lot more that you can get out of that part. However, at the same time, you don't need to do that, and the part will still be perfectly fine. Like,
we did something quite interesting.
Yeah, well, this is
Tolloller and Mantara, didn't we?
Yeah, we got together at the end, and but that was a lovely touch. Like, we didn't need to add that, but I think that really enhanced the character, and that scene made the stakes actually really different. And it transformed kind of the way the character was, because he's not my favourite role.
I think that definitely helped bring them to life a little bit. It gave them a bit of...
Yeah, I agree.
It gave Tolloller and Mantara like a bit more stakes than they would have done ordinarily. What did you give him for music?
16.
Okay, I gave him a 15, so that's pretty close. I don't think as Blue Blood is...
No, I agree.
You are... I mean, with my help, obviously. You are one of the few people who I really feel has made that Blue Blood song, like, sensical. Often I don't really think the people know what they're singing, like, the lyrics.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really get a proper sense of what that song's about, but we really worked very hard on that to kind of make sure that came across.
I agree. And I think... the music general, okay, that's not the most amazing solo, but like he is in a lot of the ensembles, the Act 1 finale.
Of course, yeah.
The
If
whole
You Go
lead
In, which I love.
which is, he's in a lot of music. The trio, I mean, it's just so he's in a lot of it, and a lot of it is really good. I don't feel like his music is like the best music necessarily, but because he's in so much, and so much of the chorus music is so wonderful and it's so well orchestrated. So if you have an orchestra, it's just wonderful stuff. I mean, Blue Blood, even then, like, okay, it's not my favourite tune in the world. It's wonderfully orchestrated. When the orchestra's going, it's lovely. Da, 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 all the kind of cello parts.
And actually,
the whole nice stuff.
This below, what's the stuff?
Yeah, it's lovely stuff. There's some great.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
It's a lot of really great moments. I'm not sure if it's all. Yeah, much the Peers, which obviously he's involved in again.
Yeah, it's just.
I don't know how much that can count in his favour because it's a chorus number, but still he's involved in it. So yeah, 16 for music because I just
How about lyrics dialogue?
Lyrics dialogue again 16.
Yeah, 15.
And again, it's funny because even though I gave him far more than the Defendant, I still rather do the Defendant. But I feel like the lyrics and dialogue. Yeah, well, that scene with Mantara we were talking at the end, it's a really good scene that can be really funny if done right.
We were boys together. Your delivery of that line is my very favourite.
Yeah,
we were boys together. At least I was.
Yes, I was. There's a lot of great little
He's
jokes
got
there.
some really great lines. I love how stupid Tolloller and Mantara are. Sometimes actors actually worry too much about character and they don't think about the piece. And I think Tolloller is one where actually you can dispense with your ego and dispense with your ideas of finding a proper path for your character and just be ridiculous.
Yeah.
And actually just say the lines
in a funny way.
In a funny way. And honestly, I know that sounds really lazy, and I was literally just saying a few entries ago about Cyril, how you shouldn't do that, but that's because were discussing like really sensitive issues with Cyril, and he's actually saying some things that are quite unkind.
Yeah.
But like Tolloller's just an idiot.
Yeah, he is.
So I think that you can just. You don't have to think too much about being very real. I don't think with Tolloller you can just be ridiculous.
Even like Blue Blood, I mean, he really means that, you know.
Oh, absolutely. He's got some real.
It's fine to like commit to that
states.
and think, no, we're better.
What should you give him from his dramatic and emotional states?
I gave him for stakes. I get importance of narrative. I gave him 6, and stakes I gave him 5.
I gave him importance of narrative. I gave a 7.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like even though he is a glorified chorus principal, he does really help the story progress at various points, like because of the peers.
But then the reason I gave him a 6 is that really it's him and Mount Sarah and the peers.
Yes,
that
that is true.
It's not him.
So that was maybe a bit generous. That 7. I gave him a 7 for dramatic stakes as well, though, because that Blue Blood is dramatic. The whole Act 1 finale is dramatic, and he does play a big part in that. Or does
this ladies is what?
Yes, ladies is what? I only gave him a 5 for emotional complexity. Maybe that was actually a bit unkind.
I gave him a 6.
Yeah, so maybe I would actually, rather than doing a 7 and 5, I might just do a 6.
He's not dissimilar to Cyril in that.
Yeah.
In that you don't necessarily need to find all the stuff that you can in him. Like, it's not like it's going to fall apart if you don't do that. But you can, and it is there if you want to. And it is possible to play those parts. But again, it's paired with Mount Sarah here.
Yeah,
those two parts you can't just make one the scene stealer. They have to be a joint scene stealer if you're going to go down that route. So I gave him a 6 for that because yes, but again, it's with Mount Sarah and all the others. So really, it's a team effort there. And for enjoyment, I gave him a 7.
I give him a 9. You know how there are parts like Sergeant Merrill is the big example I give of a part which is quite thankless. There's so much stuff to learn.
I was about to say,
you don't even really get that much reward for it. Whereas Tolloller's like the opposite. Tolloller, he doesn't really play like a really big part of the story, but he just gets to be in so much fun stuff.
I find that Tolloller is quite it's not thankless, but there's a lot to do, and it is actually some of it's pretty tough.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff to get through, and like with Mabel, where you sing all the big high notes. As long as you get those notes right, you'll get a cheer at the end when you bow. Tolloller, you do absolutely masses. I mean, it's really hard work. It's a hard role. There's so much to do.
But I remember when you and Rowley bowed at the end. I think people really like you in that.
Yeah, I think maybe because of that final scene that we played. But
I was part of the production of IOLANTHE where Tolloller and Mount Ararat got the last bow.
Fair enough.
I could have got that wrong, but I mean it was Ben McAteer playing Mount Ararat.
Yeah.
So
I think maybe I was a bit harsh. You are right. Tolloller is a lot of fun, and it's a bit, and because you're in so much stuff, you get to do loads of you get to be involved in so much. There's so many scenes you get to be in, all the great, the best bits. Yeah, you're right.
I do know that
I think I was hard there. Actually,
I do have another of my tenors because I do know tenors other than David.
What?
I know. Another tenor I know very well has said that Tolloller is like one of his least favourite parts to play. So I do know that this isn't one.
It's quite hard work. I think you can be fun if you go for that. If you find it, it can be quite hard work.
Yeah, it's one that
There's a lot of singing, and your voice can really give
yeah.
out because there is so much singing in it. All the choruses and all the solos. If it's like bloody.
Because David is very good at just yielding himself to the ridiculousness of GNS. But I think if you, as I was saying before, if you are a person that has to look very detailed into your character, you may not have a good time with this one. Right, so we're doing our second attempt of number 10, because number 10 was originally a different one and we then moved it up. Okay. So this is the actual number 10, which is Captain Fitzbattleaxe from Utopia Limited, which is one that you don't know. But I do hope that he will know it at some point. Because I think that David would make a fantastic Captain Fitzbattleaxe, because he's a similar kind of part to like Tolloller and the Duke, in that he's not hugely important, but he's just really fun and over the top.
Yeah.
But surely you must have heard of his major aria. His big aria. Okay, I'm going to pause it while you listen to it. Hold on. Oh, so yeah, initial impressions of that
very
song.
Strong.
It's a good
one.
And the thing is, there's not really much more to him than that. His decisions play absolutely no part of the narrative whatsoever. He is called in by Princess Zara and the king to like transform England, but he doesn't really do a lot of that. That's mostly Mr. Goldberry, who's the company promoter. But he is the love interest of Princess Sarah, and he's just ridiculously flowery and over the top and just very much in love. Like, that is who he is. But it's just tremendous fun, like, honestly. And his music is just glorious.
Yeah, that was good.
I gave him a 17 for his music.
Fair.
I only gave him a 12 for his lyrics dialogue because his dialogue is not up to much, really. He's a soldier. He has a couple of maybe slightly funny lines just because they're so insipid. You know, he's a bit like Alexis. He's a bit like Act 1 Alexis.
Yeah.
You know, just very much like
pretty
flowery with his language, very soppy. But he's not that interesting. He's a bit brain dead. But I love him. I really do love Captain Fitzbattleaxe. I gave him a 7 for the importance of the narrative, which if anything was generous, as I was just saying. He doesn't really make any changes to the story. Like, he doesn't instigate any turning points, but he does. He is just present a lot, and he is just part of the changing process of Utopia. And he's the main love. He's the love interest of the lead soprano. So he is present in the story. So I gave him a 7. 8 for dramatic stakes and 8 for emotional complexity, because even though he's a bit wet, he actually is. Like, you do know who he is. He's this dashing soldier. And I actually think he's probably the nicest flower of progress, because I think the other ones are meant to be symbolic of kind of horrible British capitalism and evilness, but actually Captain Fitzbattleaxe he's just like a sweet guy, really. And he's so lovely to Princess Sarah as well. We now move on to number 9, which is Marco from the Gondoliers.
Yeah. A lovely part.
Yeah.
A lovely sing.
Have you sung him before?
I've not sung him, but I've sung obviously the aria and quite a lot of bits from them from Gondoliers.
How do you like the aria?
I love the aria. It's one of my absolute
Do you?
favourites. Love it.
Okay.
I've given him for music. I've given him 19.
Ooh.
I think the music of the Gondoliers is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, he's got so much good music, actually. I mean, if I gave him an extra point... Oh, actually, if I gave him an extra point, but there's no way I'm moving the one above him down, so...
Yeah.
But Marco... Yeah, I gave him a 17 for me, so I guess I could have given him a bit higher. Because he is in these always lovely quartets. You know which bit I actually really love? I really like that bit of Happiness the Very Pith, when him and Giuseppe do that. I can't remember the words.
No,
I know
what you mean. There's that little bit in the Act 2 finale just before.
Oh, this stage meant to be for singing.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Lyrics, I gave him 15, which actually is pretty bit generous for lyrics.
I gave him a 13 for lyrics.
Yeah, I probably could have gone below than that, but it's
because actually Giuseppe is actually a better character than Marco. I think he has a bit more to say, whereas Marco's a bit more like the person that just goes behind him and is like, yeah.
I think I agree with that. He's a bit of a bland tenor role in that sense, but he's still, you know.
And you can make that funny. Like, you can definitely make something.
I don't mean that in a
that
bad way, but he's not. He's not. Yeah, Giuseppe's got more to him than that. And yeah, I think I gave 15, probably quite generous. But like I said, with Take Care Sparkling Eyes, the lyrics in that are not really up to much.
Yeah,
they sound nice.
Yeah,
they fill a hole. They're not shattering.
How about importance of narrative?
8.
Me too.
Yeah.
Why did you choose 8?
Well, they're the driving force.
The driving force of it. Yeah. However, there are subplots in the Gondoliers that don't directly involve them.
Yeah, I mean. One of my complaints with Gondoliers is there are just too many characters. There's just too many characters.
Yeah.
But, you know, and so obviously, because there are too many characters, then there's going to be loads of different plots. But the crux of it, they are the main characters.
In the Gondoliers, like, the music is just insanely good, but Gilbert is...
I feel that you can tell by that point they were writing 2 different shows.
They really were.
Yeah.
They were. Yes.
The Gondoliers that Sullivan was writing is not the Gondoliers that Gilbert was writing.
They were not editing to.
But
I gave him.
But still an 8.
A 7 for dramatic stakes.
I gave him a 6.
Yeah. I appreciate that it's a very big moment when they find out that one of them's going to be a king, and when they have to say goodbye to their wives. I do appreciate that. That is a moment that is quite dramatic, and when they find out at the end that they're not kings, whatever, 7. But then 6 for emotional complexity, because he's not interesting.
No, really. I give 6.
He's not a fleshed out character.
But I gave him an 8 for enjoyment.
Me too.
Largely because
that's also what I gave him. Yeah, exactly. Because he just gets to be in so many of these sparkling musical numbers.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, the opening 15 minutes alone is just wonderful stuff.
Oh my god. That opening of the Gondoliers, I mean, it should have just all been like that with no dialogue. However, Don Al's dialogue is really good. Okay, so next? We are moving on to... I'm really upset with you.
I know exactly who it is. I worry that I'm not going to be able to defend myself here.
This was the character that I had as my number 1, but because of David's frankly disgusting scores, this character has been demoted to 8th place. So I'm really hoping that he can justify...
Oh no, I feel like I can't. Go on.
Hilarion from Princess Ida. I mean...
I'm just not a fan of Princess Ida.
I mean, hey, there are things about Princess Ida that I find really problematic. And what's so interesting is actually the 2 operas that I find the most problematic, the MIKADO and Princess Ida, are the 2 that I also feel have the most potential.
Yeah, but that's kind of why, isn't it?
Because it sucks because I really love these 2 operas so much, but I don't think that people put the amount of thought that they should.
There's one thing about the strengths of Ida, obviously the music, but also just the kind of world. I just feel like the kind of world building in Ida is just right. You know, the first scene, you feel like you're in this fairy tale kingdom. You feel the kind of, you feel the medieval world of it all really strongly. I saw, was it Peak Opera's version? And straight away I was just like, I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm in this like medieval world. It's great.
The last one that me and Will saw was the one at the festival in 2022, and it was the Bus Pass opera one. And there were several points that we were crying.
Yeah. But I feel like the real strengths are in the kind of the scale of it and the kind of the overall power of it. I feel like the choruses are really strong, but I don't feel like any of the characters really stand out. Other than Ida, none of them are really like, even Hilarion. And I know people like Hilarion. I know you obviously love Hilarion.
It's just that he has grown up in this really toxic environment. And he has grown up feeling like he's entitled to be with this woman. Yeah. But then his feelings for her are always very kind.
I feel like when you compare him to lots of other characters, he's not very well defined. He's quite a sort of ordinary character. I don't think there's much.
But I think what I like about him is his... You know what he is? You know why I like him? And this is something I should probably do another like a special video on. I like him because he's an INFP.
Ah! Are you going to do that for all the characters?
I should, shouldn't I? And that's like me. So I like him because he doesn't actually say that much, and he's very introspective. But then when the moment does come for him to express himself, he does that in such a powerful, spine-tingling way. Fair enough. It's like when he meets Princess Ida, it properly should give you chills when they meet and have that little exchange, and then they sing "The World Is But a Broken Toy."
I feel like he just kind of gets lost in the landscape a little bit in that one.
Possibly, but I think that is also down to the actor as well. Yeah. So if you get like a really good director doing it who really loves this character, which I do, the thing is, like, as soon as he meets Princess Ida, his tune kind of changes. And you can really see that he has fallen instantly in love with her when he meets her. And the way he expresses himself in the Act 2 finale, I just think is absolutely beautiful.
Fair enough. I think, let's say, for music I gave him 15. I've only given him a 12 for lyrics and dialogue, though. Because I
didn't give him a very high mark for that. I gave him a 13. I don't think his lyrics or dialogue are particularly good. But then that's because Princess Ida's dialogue is just a bit odd. Yeah. And I think with the tentative exception of Gama, I don't think any of them have particularly good dialogue.
No.
We are taking poetry into account.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
It's not
I gave him a 9 to importance of the narrative.
Yeah, I gave him an 8, yeah.
But I only gave him a 9 rather than a 10 because Princess Ida's the one that gets a 10.
Yeah.
But then he is also a protagonist. It's interesting because he and Princess Ida are ostensibly kind of on different sides, but then they are also on the same team in a way, because he just immediately and instantly falls in love with her and warms to her, and I just think that's a really lovely track.
Yeah,
to
fair
do.
enough. I gave him an 8 to importance the narrative.
Do you know what I gave him for music?
What did you give for music?
A 20.
You gave him a 20 for music.
I think he's got the best music out of all of them.
Oh, really?
Whom thou hast chained must wear his chains.
I knew you'd bring
thou
that bit
canst
up.
not set him free.
I knew you'd bring that bit up.
He wrestles with his bonds in vain, who lives by loving thee.
Fair enough.
Do you know what I gave him for dramatic stakes and emotional
I
complexity?
bet you gave him a 10.
10s.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
God. I gave him a 6 and a 5. Oh, for emotional complexity, you honestly gave him a 10?
Yes!
No! Really?
I think it's more just the potential.
Yeah.
I do
Fair
agree.
enough.
No, I do agree that what's on the page doesn't really paint that much of a picture. But because I'm an INFP, I get him.
Fine.
I think I just
what I
read a lot
interpret as
into
being a bit
it.
kind of bland, it hasn't got much to do.
Yeah.
You think of it as being more kind of eternalised.
Yeah, I just think of him as
There's
being
more going on.
a very introspective character that keeps a lot of himself hidden.
Yeah.
But I think if you just think of the big gear change for him, because he starts off just being a lad, and then ends up very loudly and publicly declaring his love for a woman who's like, I want you out of this castle. But he says, no, like, I will die if you don't accept me. And he has to mean that. That can't be like sarcasm or anything. That has to be genuine. And I think in order to go from the first to the second, he must have had a serious gear change at some point. It's not explicit on the page, like where that is, but it has to occur somewhere. And maybe it's up to the actor. So maybe, the reason that people don't think of this part too highly is because it can be done without much thought.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean,
but really, in terms of acting potential, which is kind of what I'm thinking also about when I think about complexity, like, in terms of acting potential, he's one of the ones that I'd be desperate to play.
Yeah, fair enough. If you're thinking as a director, you're thinking about how you'd understand the character of this and where you go from there. No, actually, you're winning around. I think I missed a lot of stuff. I think I have been quite harsh on her.
And then dramatic stakes. I mean, just again that huge song that he does.
Yeah.
And
big moment.
And it is kind of life and death for him. Because there is a real danger for him here.
So
I mean, these women have been
the
trained.
The stakes are actually high, and also he believes the stakes are high.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I hear what you're saying, but then I look at my marks and I think, I still kind of stand by them because.
No, I get that.
I have given him strong music. 15. I mean, I know you gave him 20.
No, but I actually think the list. I think that like the list we have from this point on is perfectly valid. Yeah. In a particular universe, I just happen to really love Hilarion.
Fair enough.
I'm going to think of some more Myers-Briggs personality types.
I'm ENFP.
Yeah, most actors are ENFP, which is bizarre because you'd think most actors would be ESFPs, but actually they tend to be ENFPs. Yeah. So we are moving on to number 7, and number 7 is one of our favourite sailors, Dick Dauntless from RUDDIGORE, who, for me, falls down when it comes to, like, his music's fine, but I didn't give him quite as high a mark as other people.
I gave him quite a low mark for music.
What did you give him?
11.
Oh, what? That's quite low. I gave him a 15.
No, 11. I mean,
happily coupled.
Having just said I love Dick Dauntless, that's not that great. Having just given him I did give him a 10 for enjoyment, so I want to be clear. He's a really, really fun.
What did I give him for enjoyment? I gave him a 10
one
for
of
enjoyment.
One of my few 10s for enjoyment is for Dick. He's such a fun role to play. You get the hornpipe, but like,
oh god, of course.
But like in terms of the music that he actually sings, with the exception of the one bit in the Act 1 finale, it's really not much. I mean, he has the "High ship, do you see yellow revenue soup?" and I mean,
I do not really like that aria. That one came really low in my tenor arias.
But it's not. I mean, no way. It's just a little bit of a jaunty tune.
But my god, his dialogue.
Yeah.
His dialogue is fit. I'm sorry, but like, oh my god, I gave him an 18.
I should have given him more for dialogue. I should have given him like an 18 as well.
His scene that he has with Rose is one of my favourite scenes in the canon.
Yeah.
That is absolutely hysterical.
It is hilarious.
Look at you, miss. That's nervousness.
Yeah. That's nervousness, that is.
But that is just, that scene is so good because just the clashing of those two worlds and how these characters are completely unsuited to each other.
I think he's just hilarious.
Followed by one of the worst duets in the canon.
Which one?
The Battle's Roar is Up.
Oh, I really like that one. No.
But what do you do with it? Oh my god, it's a director's nightmare.
Fair enough. I mean, okay,
it's so bad.
It's not amazing. I mean, as we said, his music's never that great, but I quite like it. I think that's quite a nice one.
That came second to bottom with me in my judgment. Oh, it's beautiful. I know, 15 musically. It's fine musically, but it's just... It's like,
yeah, fair enough. His dialogue's hilarious. I think he's really funny. I gave him I also gave him a 10 for emotional complexity.
Okay, I gave him a 9 for that.
I mean, he's not actually very complex. I didn't mean because he's complex. It's just that he's a very well-rounded character. Yeah. He's really clearly defined. He's one of those characters, again, the moment he shows up, you just know instantly what he's about. He's
Absolutely.
Just, if you play it right, it's all there in the text. He's fab. He's really fun part.
He does suffer slightly from disappearing in Act 2.
Yes.
And that irritates me. Like, him and Rose...
They have one song and then they go.
That really annoys me because their arcs as characters are just like they're just not good.
Yeah.
Then they're not. They don't really have good character arcs because the thing is, usually like characters will learn something about themselves or like make a decision or like have a conflict which gets resolved. But Dick Dauntless is very much just a passenger.
Yeah.
He doesn't really get to instigate too much. I gave him a 7 for importance to narrative, but I can't.
I gave him a 7 as well, but I think you're right.
And that's mostly
for the first half. He's very important. And then you're right, just stops.
Because he's the one, that, of course, that tells Despard about his brother.
He's very,
and that is a very important.
He's very instrumental to Act 1.
Yeah. Dramatic Stakes, I only gave a 7 to. That is fair. It was a serviceable mark.
I gave him a 6 because again, it's like the stakes to him aren't that high, really. He's kind of having fun.
But then again, when he meets Rose
runs
and
off with the
falls
girl.
in love, it's like, that's quite...
But again, he's like, he's running off with the girl. It's not quite... The stakes aren't really high.
I had a really long conversation with somebody about this character recently who was saying, oh, he's awful, he's horrible, did Dauntless. I'm like, I like to play him as... I like to see him played as... Just, a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Yeah. He isn't the sharpest.
I feel like if what he was doing was interacting with other sailors like him, he'd be perfectly fine. But because everyone doesn't have to react around him.
Of course he's raucous and he drinks a lot and he's a womanizer. But these aren't qualities that make a person like nasty or bad. He's actually
quite a nice womanizer, quite a nice drunk womanizer.
He's just like there's nothing wrong with being promiscuous or as long as everyone's happy and is all fully consensual. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I don't really see there's nothing problematic about this character whatsoever. And because I think that when people play that scene with Despard, when he's wondering whether or not he should tell Despard about Robin being his brother, that's when he says, the question is, so he says this whole spiel about, but your honour had an older brother, but actually he's still alive and is virgin. And Despard's like, what? And then he goes, but the question is, ought I to tell your honour this? And sometimes people play that like sarcastically as if he was like conniving, but no, I see that like as completely genuine, and he's just not really quite all there. I find that really hilarious.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I love this character. I gave him 7 for importance and narrative, 7 for dramatic stakes, 9 for emotional complexity, and then 10 for enjoyment. I think this is one of those
absolute blast. Yeah,
absolute blast. I think he's one of the two characters for me that gets a 10 out of 10 for enjoyment. Yeah, fine. So, we've had a capital lunch.
No time has passed at all. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Number 6, we have given to the Duke of Dunstable, which we had previously put in spot number 10, which is why we are subsequently going to talk about him being in 10th place.
And then we convinced ourselves
but he's actually moved to number 6, so we're kind of jumping around in time now, but I'll figure it out in the edit. So, we're good. So, we are now talking in the future.
Yeah.
Ooh. I love this character.
Yeah, I love this part too.
I only gave him a 13 for music, which I think is like pretty fair, really. There's not really much
I gave him a 15 for music.
Okay.
I really like his bit in the album finale. I think that's really beautiful.
That's true, actually.
I really love it. I'm
going to give him a 15 too, because it doesn't change his position, but I'm just being nice. So he gets a 15
I
for
want to
music.
up my enjoyment score, actually. I thought that was bad.
But yeah, I honestly think that this, I love that. He gets to be in It's Clear That Medieval Art. He gets to be in Sophia I Choose to Marry.
Yeah, great stuff.
And just I gave him a 17 for his lyrics / dialogue.
Oh, I gave him a 16.
I love the Duke's lines.
I think he gets some real proper cracker lines, doesn't he? I mean, the whole speech, the Toffee speech, is just one of my favourite. You know, I did that as an audition.
How did you say Toffee?
Tell me, Major, are you fond of toffee?
And
we're all fond of toffee. And
then you said, that describes me to a T.
Yeah. But like, you can have so much fun with that. You know, I did that as a speech, as my audition for the Northern. We had to prepare a speech, and I did that.
Amazing!
Exactly like that. Tell me, Major, are you fond of toffee?
It's just honestly.
And there's such fun characters.
And the thing is, you don't even have to do it in a silly voice. No. I mean, it makes it even funnier. But what's crazy, and here's my hot take on the Duke: you actually get more of an idea of who the Duke is in the first 10 seconds of him being on stage, or like, talking, than you ever do about Frederic.
Yeah. You know what?
Like, you know who the Duke is. The Duke is just such a great character.
Yeah, because actually I gave given the Duke more in terms of Lucid Dialogue than I did Frederic. No spoilers, but I did.
Yeah. Like, I didn't give him like a really high scores for anything else. The Duke,
neither, really.
I only gave him a 6 for the importance of the narrative.
I gave him a 5.
Yeah, because he is part of the Dragoon mission to get the ladies
he's in
back.
the story in as much as everyone else is. But yeah, you're right.
And I only gave him a 6 for emotional complexity, because even though you do really get to know who he is, he's not like a particularly complex character. He's just a very funny, good character.
You know, I gave him for emotional complexity.
What?
I gave him a 9.
And that's fair. You know, I think that's actually totally
I think he's
valid.
I think he is a pretty well-rounded character. Considering
he
how
actually.
You're right about he's not the most. He's not the most important part at all.
Yeah,
he really is not the main character. He's just a supporting player. But considering all that, the economy that, like you said, the first few minutes of him just arriving, loads about him.
That is so true.
But also,
he
doesn't just tell you the backstory. He also just gives you an idea of what kind of a person he is in his speech. It's
this guy.
It's not he turns to, I've done this. This is what happened. Now I'm here. There's more to his character than that.
This guy also made a jump to spot.
And also the way he changes from when he goes to Jane at the end. He does that totally honestly. I think he really he's not being an arse.
This one actually might beat the one above it. I
just want to up my enjoyment of Duke, actually, because I only gave him a 7. Why did I give him a 7? I want to give him an 8 or a 9.
I gave him a 10 for enjoyment.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give him a 10. Look, can we up Duke?
Yeah, can we? So,
I love Duke.
So you're giving him how many more points?
I'm going to give him 3 more points.
He is now in number 6. For some reason, I hadn't given him a high mark for emotional complexity, but no, he totally should have a higher mark.
I also given him a high mark for enjoyment, because thinking back to it, I freaking love playing the Duke. It's such a fun part.
He's so funny.
He's so funny. He's got so many great zingers. He's not in it loads, which is why I think
I think people think that he's people don't think.
He's very much a supporting character. He's
as
not.
Interesting. We both gave him 10s for enjoyment. Yeah. This
part.
Character, I did only give him a 7 for dramatic stakes, because when you think about other characters that have truly life or death stakes, he does not have that.
Yeah, but I gave him a 6 for stakes. Yeah.
But he does have that really dramatic emotional moment in act.
I think
in the Act 1 finale.
I think for him the stakes are high.
Yeah. A teardrop dews each
I think for him the stakes are high. If you're judging by how the character views the stakes, for him they're pretty high.
But then I think
he really means, oh my god, this is.
But then I would say, to be really pedantic about that, you should always play every part as if the stakes are really high. And that's actually often where the humour comes in GNS, because people place really high stakes on things that aren't important, but then they trivialise things that are actually life and death, so that all the stakes are a bit wonky. He just kind of makes everything topsy-turvy. There we go. So we're now moving on to number 5. The most evil character in the whole of the canon, which is...
Oh, is it Fairfax? It's not. Who is it?
The thing is, as I discovered with the lovely David Menezes as Fairfax, he actually doesn't need to be that nasty. But this character, I don't think is really possible to play in a way that's
sorry,
nice.
yes, yeah, exactly who it is, yeah.
Alexis from the Sorcerer. Yeah. What probably the most problematic character?
He is.
In the whole
he is, pretty heinous character.
Like worse than Scafio and Fantas. Worse. Because at least they're, quite open about what they're doing.
Yeah.
But
I trust you've read the blog post that says something like why making Alexis the villain is a problem, and it goes through this massive long.
I remember that. But this was like years ago.
Yeah, it was when we did it. And I was, Alexis,
But it's really bizarre to me because this whole, as I was talking about in my Sorcerer dialogue video, this whole thing with the potion was entirely Alexis and Aline's fault. Not like mostly Alexis' fault, because Aline tried to stop him.
Yeah.
It's like several times.
Yeah.
And Wells was very clear about what this was going to do.
Yeah.
And Alexis hired him to do a job.
Wells is, he's been bought.
And then people are saying to Wells, die thou!
It's not his fault at all. Well, so I've done this part twice. I did it with you where we played him as a villain. I did it again where I played him, more straight.
Yeah, so what's your experience?
I found it really jarring having to play him as the sort of hero, because everything I'm doing, I'm like, I'm so not on board with this. And yet we still had to go along on board with everything.
Well, like, how on earth do you play that second act scene and song with him being
It was hard work.
Guy?
I had to fight against my sort of, I mean, it's still sinister. It always comes across as there's no way of doing it that doesn't seem at least a bit sinister. You just got to try and play him as naive somehow, and like he doesn't really mean it. But like, how can he not mean it?
But even then, it's like he's telling.
I know. This is the thing. You've got to somehow
feels.
Try and
It's so gaslighting.
Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Oh my God.
Music. I've given him 16.
15.
Yeah, wonderful music.
Yeah. I do absolutely love his music. I think I only gave him a 15 rather than a 16 because he doesn't have like a huge amount of really good music. Like he does have that lovely duet in the Act 1 finale, which I forgot to put in my duets video. I don't think that his stuff is like remarkable in the way that some of the others.
No, I agree.
But I do.
I do like his two arias.
His second act aria is like an 18. No, I love his second act.
I do like his two arias a lot. I think they're nice. They're both really nice.
I love that love.
I love it only. I love that love.
In fact, actually, another tenor, Leon. Leon said to me that he actually really loves Alexis' first act aria, and I should have marked that higher, which I have taken into account.
Also, like his first act aria.
Yeah. So I think I need to listen to what tenors are actually telling me.
It's nice to sing that one.
Yeah,
it's really. I prefer singing that first one than the second one.
What did you give him for his lyrics and dialogue?
I only gave him a 10. That's a bit harsh. I don't know why I was so. I don't know why I was so hard. I think because I just found it so jarring the second time I played.
Oh, rapture!
Having to sort of go. I mean, he's such a horrible character.
The lucid lake of liquid love on which Aline and I had to float.
See, I don't like that. I know that like it's kind of funny, but it's also just a bit stupid. Sometimes I don't know whether the reason I gave the lyrics is I'm just not sure whether sometimes it's kind of funny because it's stupid or if it's just a bit stupid. Like
sometimes
a lucid lake of liquid love. I'm like, I don't know if that's actually good. But I did give him a 9 to Reports Narrative.
I gave him an 8. I could have given it, like 9 is totally valid. I could have given a 9. But I gave an 8 because I felt like there are things going on where he isn't like the main decision maker. Like Aline makes a lot of the decisions. Then there's a lot of stuff that happens with Lady Sanguisier and Sir Marmaduke.
Yeah,
and it feels like for a lot of Act 2, he is a little bit of a passenger, somewhat.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I gave him a 9 rather than a 10.
Yeah, I gave him an 8.
Even though he is the main plot driver for that whole thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Especially second act just kind of happens. But even still, it's very very important.
So then, how about dramatic stakes?
10.
I gave him a 9, but I could have given it a 10.
So again, this is another of my favourite moments ever. Is like I said earlier.
That Act 2.
Expand thee, so you're not the dandy. It's just an amazing moment.
All men I could not help but come on.
It's just bad.
As a bone bay,
There's quite a few moments where it's so dramatic, it's absurd, but like I love it.
Actually, come on, I need to give that a 10. It doesn't change his position.
No.
But I gave him a 10 for emotional complexity.
I gave him an 8, but 10 I think is fair enough.
I think Alexis tells you very clearly who he is from the very start. You learn exactly who he is, immediately, and then you learn more about him throughout the opera.
You do, and he's one of these that by not giving away things, that's what you learn about him.
Yeah, I wish he can have learnt a lesson at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
When we did it, he changed into a guinea pig.
Oh, well, yeah, true. Became a guinea pig.
We didn't have a live guinea pig. We had like a soft toy guinea pig. We did the trick where you had like a blanket and you drop it, and then there was a guinea pig there. It was great.
For enjoyment, I gave him an 8.
Me too.
Yeah, he is a good part to play. Like he's a good part. He's some juicy dialogue and quite long scenes, which are quite hard to memorise. But it's a fun part. Yeah,
I do love Alexis, and he's an extremely problematic character, and I think that he's one of the ones that I'd love to have conversations about. Like, I love to discuss Alexis with people because, like, anyone. I think I made quite a sweeping statement in my 10 Arias video that if you don't think that Alexis is the villain, you should seek help.
But he's a narcissist, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's a gaslighter.
But he's a total narcissist.
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely.
He really thinks he is right.
But like he just says, because you do not feel the same that I feel, you are incorrect, or like there is something wrong with you. And he's like, your love is like a flower that fades within the... Is that what the lyrics are? Yeah. And then the music, your love is like a flower. It's like it's so patronising. It's like, it makes me feel like, it's actually like triggering. It's like properly triggering the way that Alexis is in this song. To like past relationships that I've had. It's like, whoa. And I think that maybe if you haven't been in a relationship where you have suffered that form of gaslighting, maybe you just don't know. But like, wow. If you're ever in a relationship with like someone who behaves like Alexis, get out. Honestly, just like run.
If you're forced to drink a love potion against your will, get out.
Exactly. Okay, so we are on to the top 4.
Oh, we're getting there.
Right. Now, the fourth in our list is Colonel Fairfax from the Yeomen.
He's one of my absolute favourites. 20 for music.
Ooh! I give him a 19.
I think, honestly, Is Life a Boon, music and lyrics for me is superb. I think it's so moving. It's such a wonderfully poetic... It's simultaneously beautiful, like, poetic lyrics that also really mean something. They really capture the... You know, it's not ones where, like, take Paris Sparkling Eyes, okay, they're nice lyrics, but I don't know what they're really talking about. Yeah. It's just it's very economic as well in the way it does it. It's just a little simple accompaniment, a simple tune, simple lyrics that don't go too flowery, and it absolutely just cuts through to the heart of what he's talking about. I think it's just wonderful, wonderful song.
Did you hear that, Iano?
It's wonderful. You don't need any more to it than just sing the aria. It's extraordinary.
Like, trust your audience.
Trust.
Don't patronise them. Like they don't need, like, the soldiers were lovely and that they were such good dancers and they were a fantastic addition, but not in this song. Oh my goodness me!
It really moves me, this song. Really, honestly, it genuinely brings a tear to my eye. And Free from His Fetters Grip again, just wonderful. I love it. And also, I love the music. Obviously, the music in it was great, but I think the musical connection between Elsie and Fairfax is there throughout. So her aria really echoes Free from. Has that da 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 da, and there's a similar kind of chord sequence in Elsie's aria.
Oh, really?
Really similar, and it's like. And it has the same kind of chords underneath. There's a real DNA.
Like, what is really interesting?
It's the same key, and it's just
when they do properly meet and have that scene, you actually do get to see these characters falling for each other a bit. There's such a spark there between them, and that's definitely like a way you can play it. You don't have to play him as a toxic manipulator. You can play him as, wow, these people actually get on really well, and she has a problem with the way he's behaving, but then they sort that out.
I was going to say they're a genuine couple.
They are.
Anyway, I mean, he's a pretty ruthless character in the way he deals off with
people. You can't play him as a villain, and that's totally cool.
I don't think he's as villainous as Alexis.
No,
of course,
certainly not.
But he's pretty ruthless. He's definitely not a gentle character.
You know what my favourite musical that he does?
Go on.
With brotherly readiness,
I love that bit. That whole section. Afternoon tonight.
I love
fantastic.
That is
It's an absolutely wonderful sing. It's a great sing. Fairfax. It's
So
really,
I
really
didn't
good
give him a very high. I didn't give him a very high mark for lyric style. Like I gave him a 14.
I give him 19.
Really?
Yeah. And you know, just for passages like, you know, is life a boon? Things like that.
Oh, yeah,
Wonderful.
you know, you're right. I am insane.
And no, you don't. No, I mean, don't change it because of me. But
yeah,
you know, just.
Am I insane? It wouldn't actually affect. I would have to give him like 3 more to affect.
No, he's fine.
But I wouldn't. Yeah. So, but I will. Yeah. But I would.
One thing I would say,
I think he's in the right place.
There is a lot of dialogue, and actually some of it isn't.
That's the thing. I don't think. I just feel like I love his bits with. I love his scene with Elsie, but I don't think his lines are particularly sophisticated. No, and also, he's quite a closed-off character. He remains so calm and in control of every situation he finds himself in. Yeah. He takes everything in his stride. He just like plans. Says, "Okay, right, this is happening now. That's fine. I can get through this."
Yeah.
And it's like death. Yeah. Well, I've met death before.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to die. Okay, fine. We're doing this now. Even when I'm married now. Okay, I'm married.
Yeah. Even when the gun goes off and it's sort of like. Why an arquebus fire from the wall? And just, you know, he's not scared instantly. He just figures it out, and like, you know.
Yeah, I do find him really interesting, but I think because a bit like for the same reason that you maybe didn't value Hilarion so much, I don't really connect with Fairfax that much. I don't really find that he has any particular needs or wants or desires. I don't really feel like we know particularly what he wants.
Yeah,
he's just a person that has found himself in a situation, and none of his decisions actually drive the plot.
Really? I suppose you're right, actually.
He's just like, he's a person, he's kind of like an observer in a way. He is a person who was like a newcomer to the tower, who has like found himself in this situation, and he's just kind of like going, yeah, let's just go with it. And he's brave and awesome.
He gets freed. He doesn't escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I haven't really considered that.
But I find him complex. I've given him an 8 for emotional complexity.
Yeah, I'll give him a 9.
Yeah. And I gave it...
Not a 10, but yeah, a 9. And a 9 for importance to narrative. But actually, you're probably right. What did you give him for importance to narrative?
8. Just because he doesn't really drive it, but he obviously is very important.
I gave him an 8 for stakes, because...
I gave him a 9 for dramatic stakes.
Yeah.
Just because you don't really particularly see any big dramatic reaction to anything, but the stakes for him are really high, and I think there are ways the actor can play that.
I think you're right. I think...
I
don't know, I feel like the stakes for him aren't that high. I know obviously he's going to die, but like in the way you say that he doesn't...
He's not so chill.
He's so chill about it.
That does like mess with my perception.
He's not absolutely terrified of the fact he's going to die. He is kind of... He's almost ready for death, and then he gets freed.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, okay, I give him an 8 because it's not like he's terrified of death and he needs to get out and the death is around the corner for him. It's like, he's a bit opportunistic.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's opportunistic. He just like, he knows how to make the best of every situation. And... But he wants to have a bit of fun as well.
He is quite a selfish character. I mean, I mean, I know that he's not horrendous like Alexis, but he's pretty selfish and quite rude.
The thing is, like, you can play Fairfax anything from just being a bit opportunistic and like a little bit selfish, from like to full on villain.
Yeah, like, you can. And that's another good, or maybe even not such great part about the writing is that, you know, because he's got that such broad range that it's not as defined as some of the other parts.
Yeah.
But I think because he's
an asset.
I was going to say, because for this part in particular, though, I think that's a real asset.
Yeah, because you can make him what you want to be, exactly. And but again, it's important to put the work in. Yeah. But then again, I would honestly say that there are at least 4 more interesting characters in Yeomen of the Guard than Fairfax.
Yeah, in terms of characters, yeah.
Like Phoebe, Wilfred, Elsie, and Jack Point, I would say are more interesting than Fairfax.
Yeah, I think.
But I do still really like it.
I think Fairfax is a fixed point in the narrative.
But I think this, even though he's got this incredible material, I do think this is the correct spot for him. I wouldn't want to put him much higher than this. And but I do also think he's better than Alexis as well, because Alexis' material maybe isn't quite as strong as Fairfax.
I agree. Yeah.
So I think we're doing really well here. I think this is a good spot for him. Nice. Enjoyment. What should you give him? I gave him a 7.
Yeah, fair enough.
I guess for enjoyment, I've given that to people who are more overtly off the wall or can just do a lot of cool, funny things. But Fairfax is a bit more of a reserved character. So he is, but then I think he's a really interesting character. Oh God, he's so interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Gunnar Fairfax. So
there we go.
We are into our top 3, and number 3 is Rackstraw from HMS Pinafore.
Yeah, fair enough. Great spot for him.
Some people don't like HMS Pinafore. I know if Will is watching, he'd have probably put Rafe Rackstraw beneath Mars.
I have to say...
Will hates HMS.
Really? I like HMS Pinafore. I don't think Rafe is necessarily the best character in Pinafore, though, at all.
No.
No.
I'd say Josephine's better.
Yeah. I think even Captain Corcoran's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I like Rafe a lot, but he...
It's more just his stakes.
His stakes are incredibly high.
And just his... Because actually, Rafe as a character doesn't really grow or change.
Yeah.
So that is an issue. In fact, like, not too many of these characters actually grow and change. The tenors kind of stay... Apart from Hilarion. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Hilarion grows and changes. I gave Rafe a 17 for music.
I gave him 16 for music.
Yeah. I love his music. Yeah. The nightingale sang.
Night is blue to see that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
A captain's daughter, she. Just lovely stuff.
The barbershop harmonies that the men do.
Lovely stuff in that.
Refrain Audacious Tar, A Bit of Star as a Soaring Soul, all the material in the Outrun finale.
Yeah. Album finale is terrific.
And then one of my favourite bits of the canon, which I don't even know, this is going to end up like in my kind of uncategorizable numbers, but that bit where they go, "He, I, humbly poor and lowly one," who dared to raise his worthy eyes above. Do you know that one? He is an Englishman, behold him.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's because he gets a clear 10 out of 10 for dramatic stakes.
Yeah, I've given him 10 as dramatic stakes because for him they're just so high, and it doesn't matter that how they seem to us, but for him they're like because that's the thing about Fairfax is that while the stakes are technically higher, he's not. He's cool as cucumber. Whereas Rafe, really takes it seriously.
And then Rafe is one of the two characters that I've given a 10 out of 10 to for importance to the narrative.
Oh God, I only gave him a 7.
But now I'm thinking about it.
Well, because
Josephine is a bit more important than him.
He's not. He is in it a lot, but he's not really that important.
But I guess he is the main instigator of the very first turning point because he is the one that decides I'm going to tell.
But he's not like the main character.
That's actually true. So maybe I should have given him a 9 for that. But again, there were several points between these that and the last one, so it wouldn't have changed anything.
Lyrics, I've only given him a 14 for that.
I gave him a 17. You see, I am obsessed. I am obsessed with Rafe.
Oh gosh.
You read it.
Which one is it?
I am poor.
I am poor in the essence of happiness, lady. Rich only in never-ending unrest. In me there meet a combination of antithetical elements, which are at eternal war with one another, driven hither by objective influences, thither by subjective emotions, wafted one moment into blazing day by mocking hope, plunged the next into Cimmerian darkness of tangible despair. I am but a living ganglion of irreconcilable antagonisms. I hope I make myself clear, lady.
I'm sorry.
He really, I know, he's so sincere. He's so sincere.
I absolutely love that line.
Yeah.
Then just that whole scene with, even though Jove's armoury were launched at the head of the audacious mortal whose lips, unhallowed by relationship, dared to breathe that precious word, yet I would breathe it once and then perchance be silent evermore.
I think Rafe.
Josephine.
I think Rafe. Especially in their early operas. So, Alexis, Rafe, Frederic, definitely. The tenor roles are very sincere because I think they're very much a...
They're so sincere.
They're very much a parody of opera tenors.
Yes.
Previously. So you think about all the kind of, big operas that were going, grand operas that happened before. The tenor roles are always as kind of incredibly earnest heroes. And so these characters are deliberate parodies of that, whereas the other characters around them are kind of scheming, conniving, whoever's. Yeah. And they're just at the centre being this kind of doe-eyed lover. I mean, while I love Rafe, I have to say he's not one that personally is my favourite at all.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots... he's like the opposite of the Defendant, where I love the Defendant, but in lots of these areas I can't really defend because the music isn't that amazing. The lyrics Rafe's the other way around. I appreciate that the music and the lyrics, everything is wonderful and he's so important to the plot and everything, but personally for me, he isn't my he's not a part that like gets me there in a way that lots of
I
like
think
Fairfax
he's a very clean part.
He is quite clean.
Like
part.
HMS Pinafore is just a very clean, neat
nice
show.
entertainment.
And he is a very good cog in the machine.
He is. I think you're absolutely right. He's a very that's absolutely the way.
And so I do think
he's not a complex,
really
and he's not. He's a lot of fun to perform, but he's also not necessarily a complex. Like if you do him over and over again, there's not going to be multiple ways.
I only gave him a
finding
7 for emotional complexity.
Yeah,
because I don't think he's terribly interesting. Apart from the fact that he loves the captain's daughter, that's kind of all there is to.
I agree.
But he does the way he speaks is so eloquent, and that is strange for a sailor.
Yeah.
So I do give him that. That is quite weird and unusual.
Yeah.
But it's because he's actually highborn.
Well, exactly. So he naturally has a better vocabulary than.
And that is so absurd, and I love that. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I don't. Rafe is not a character that I'm like obsessed with or really want to play in the same way as I'd really want to play Hilarion and Dick Dauntless and the Duke. And maybe Alexis.
But that's kind of how I feel about
love those
parts like, I agree. Parts like Fairfax.
But I just think Rafe
I have a thing about Fairfax. I just don't have a thing about Rafe in the same way.
Yeah. So I think that clinically he does come really high, but I don't think that either of us are particularly like, we desperately.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still love it though. Great music. Great tunes.
Okay, so we're on to number 2.
Number 2. I know who it is.
And then you'll know who number 1 is.
Yeah.
And you know who number 2 is. But number 2 is the tenor character from the MIKADO. What I like about this character is he has this earnestness, and my absolute favourite way of seeing him and the soprano being done are when they're played like old movie characters. Where like everything they say is just ever so dramatic. And alas, yes, alas, no. That very affected quality of voice. And I just for some reason just find that hysterical.
Yeah.
And I find this character's matter-of-factness in the face of death hilarious.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are actually super high in the MIKADO.
I was really torn about what to do with stakes for him because it's so... They are incredibly high, but at the same time... And he does take them seriously, but it's also not... He's probably the only character that really does take them seriously. But like everyone else does not seem to take those stakes.
It's really bizarre. It's like, but today I die.
Yeah. And he's just, fixing a rope or whatever. What? It's just,
But if I'm to be buried alive...
Buried alive? Yeah,
buried alive!
Yeah, all that stuff. It's it's hard to know where to put the stakes. I was very divided on that. I don't know whether to put them high or low. I ended up going high.
What did you give him for music?
For music, I gave him 15.
I give him a 17.
Fair enough.
I absolutely love A Wandering Minstrel.
You see, I love A Wandering Minstrel. I'm not crazy about anything else he sings.
I
love A Wandering
Minstrel. I get that.
Because it's terrific.
The madrigal is good. Here's a how do you do.
I'm not fussed about that madrigal.
He gets to sing in Young Man Despair.
Yes, yeah.
That's good. He's in the kissing song. That's good. But maybe not terribly good musically, but it is good.
I really like the kissing song, actually.
What does he have in... The Act 1 finale, he doesn't have that much. Yeah.
I love Wandering Minstrel. I think it's great. I think it's a huge, fab number. Great tunes. It goes all these different sections. But other than that, I'm not that wild about anything else he sings. So I gave him 15, which was pretty, good, but not great.
I get that.
Yeah.
How about dialogue and lyrics?
I gave him 14 for that.
I gave him a 20.
Did you?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, but come on. When the patter guy says, life without the soprano character, why, it seems absurd. And he says, and yet there are a good many people in the world who have to endure it.
Yeah. But he says it with such earnestness, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He really means that. He doesn't think he's being, sarcastic.
It's also matter of fact. I should be sorry to cause her pain. Perhaps, after all, if I were to withdraw from Japan and travel in Europe for a couple of years, I might contrive to forget her. It's just so silly. But my position during the next month will be most unpleasant. Most unpleasant. Yeah. Not half so unpleasant as my position at the end of it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love
Yeah, that's some good dialogue, actually.
Yeah, I think, again, he's kind of brain dead. But you just have to lean into that.
But they're all always a bit brain dead.
Because I think sometimes people try and make some of these characters really intelligent, and they often come across as mean.
No, you can't.
As a result, no, just make them wholesome and
same as Rafe and Frederic. It's just
it's great.
They really are.
Just lean into what they are.
They really think what they're doing is, they absolutely believe what they're saying.
Yeah, it's
There's no sarcasm.
Conviction.
No.
I don't like it when people automatically go to sarcasm with some of these
winking
characters. Like, no, just say the lines as if you actually believe them, controversially. I gave him an 8 for dramatic stakes.
Oh, what's the line about suit? I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
Start.
And what is it?
I can't remember.
I soon found that my suit was hopeless.
Yeah, but I don't think. But the way you deliver that is you shouldn't look at the audience and go, "But my suit,
suit was hopeless."
You shouldn't do that. You just say, "And I soon found that my suit was hopeless," and just let it land.
I gave him a 9 for importance in the narrative.
I also gave him a 9 for importance in the narrative. Yeah.
And I gave him an 8 for dramatic stakes.
I gave him a 10 for stakes.
Oh, did you?
Well, this is why I was torn because I didn't know whether it was. I gave him a 10 in the end because I thought he is going to kill himself. There's all these scenes with, the death and the head buried alive. The stakes are really high. And he takes them seriously.
Yeah.
So I think that's the combo. I mean, I know he seems quite flippant about it, but that's because he's so earnest. If he wasn't as earnest as that, you'd think, oh, he's just, he's not.
It's a little bit like Fairfax syndrome, isn't it? He seems quite chilled out about how high his stakes
but he really is earnest about it. So when he says, he means it. He's gonna do what he says he's gonna do. So the stakes are high for him.
What did you give him for enjoyment?
Enjoyment, I gave him an 8.
I gave him a 9.
Yeah,
because I think it's got so much fun.
He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. He's not my favourite role ever, but he's a lot of fun to play. And
Oh, and like emotional complexity as well. I only gave him a 6 for that.
I gave him a 7 for that.
Yeah, because I didn't feel he's particularly well fleshed out.
No,
but I think that's part of his charm.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a prince and all this stuff, so there is that, and whatever it is.
Yeah, but that's not like a character trait.
No, I know, but then that kind of, that can. I mean, maybe I'm thinking into it, but that plays into the reason why he does it.
Absolutely, no, of course,
because he's reserved. Obviously, that's a kind of stereotypically European way of thinking about royalty, but even still, he's a reserved, uptight sort of character.
But Gilbert didn't actually know much at all about Japanese culture, which is a part of the problem again with the MIKADO.
Nothing about them except he was in Japan.
Yeah. Bless him, Gilbert. We love you. We really do love you, Gilbert. So, number 1, we are moving on to the top tenor character, which to me, I think only came like number 7.
I think objectively speaking, though, this is the best tenor.
And I think that it's important that we listen to tenors when they tell us what the best tenor roles are.
I mean, I'm not even saying that he's necessarily my favourite. But he is.
He is though.
Yeah.
He has to be your favourite because he came top of the list and he only came 7 in mine. So you must have given him a very fat mark.
I did. In fact, I really did. Yeah.
Yeah, because with me, he didn't actually do hugely well. I gave him a 17 for music.
Yeah. Well, this is Frederic in Pirates Penzance.
Oh, did I even say?
I actually said that, but
Frederic from the
Pirates Penzance. So I gave him a 20 for music.
Yeah,
absolutely wonderful. And this is mainly just purely, me speaking as a tenor, but just to sing, it's just a lovely
no, that's valid though.
It's a lovely. Whereas Tolloller, I know we talked about him earlier, quite a long time ago. Yes, there is lots of great music that Toller's in, but actually singing it is quite hard work. There's a lot of singing that's a bit thankless, and at the end you think, God, I'm burnt out. Frederic has loads of singing, and yet it's just wonderful singing. You don't feel burnt out by the end of it. You just, he's soaring above it. He gets, he deserves full marks for the high B flat alone. I mean, he's the only. Maybe Rafe has one, but I think Frederic's the only tenor part with a top B flat in it. Just great. I love singing that, and it's a great tune.
Oh, no, I think Rafe has. No, it's not to be expected.
Oh, that's not the same. That's just one little B flat. That's not the same as a climactic in the middle of a phrase. It's not I love you. Expected. I love you is a much better phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. Would you say that is the greatest tenor moment?
Oh, it's probably, honestly. I think that the build up to that moment, those chords underneath, I think it's just great stuff. And he has so much of it. There's so much great music for Frederic to sing. It's just love it.
He is.
The duet with Mabel, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah. And he just has so much material.
He does have a lot.
I think that is important. That is to be taken into consideration.
And he is, unlike a lot of these other parts, he's the main character.
Oh, he gets a 10 for importance in narrative.
I mean, he is the main character in the show. Whereas even ones where they're still, even Rafe and things, they're important to the plot, but Frederic is the main character in Pirates Penzance. There is no question about that. And so therefore, he gets a 10 for importance plot because he just is the plot. I mean, everything that happens is because of him. Yeah. If he wasn't in it, there would be no Pirates Penzance. For instance. And it's he's just a great part. It's a great sing. Musically, it's a lot of fun to sing. It's very well written for the voice. So
that's
full 20 out of 20 for the music.
I had an interesting experience a couple of days ago because I was in a rehearsal for a concert that I'm doing, and one of the guys in it is singing Maiden Breast. And I have never really looked at the music for this, but I just had my score open and I was just looking at the music, and I was actually quite enraptured by the... It was just a piano, it wasn't an orchestra. But just by the dun, 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 like the bass line.
Yeah, the little
actually,
bass.
This is actually quite spine tingling.
Yeah, it is.
It was surprised me because I didn't really rate it too highly. You know why? Maiden Breast really suffers from this. I have a bias against it because I'm always playing Mabel. So I connect Maiden Breast with just
getting ready.
Need to go on stage. So I never really have a very good experience just relaxing and listening to it. And so that happened to me like for the first time recently. And I was like, oh, actually, this is beautiful. This is really
and it's
good.
It's just great to sing.
And he doesn't have too much in the Act 1 finale, does he, Frederic?
No, he doesn't really, actually, to be fair.
Nobody does, though, really. No. It's just the Pirate King.
Pirate King is still quite bad.
And... but he's got some great material in Act 2, like the Paradox Trio, Away Away, and what you said with Mabel. Oh my god.
Wonderful stuff.
Oh, it's beautiful. No, he's got so much good stuff, Frederic.
Music, absolutely. Lyrics and dialogue, I gave him 15.
I gave him a 14 for that, yeah.
I mean,
the thing is,
he doesn't do all that. He's important to the plot, but also he also is there to enable the funny stuff to be funny. If he wasn't there, the funny stuff wouldn't be as funny, because he's around observing it. I mean, he has, like with Major General, where he says, but you only bought this.
Yes, exactly.
But he sets things up, so then the Major General is able to have his funny line.
He facilitates other characters.
I don't know whose ancestors they were, but I know whose ancestors they are.
Forget that. He's one of these characters which, like the Tenor and the MIKADO, he's just so matter of fact.
Yeah.
And when he says to the pirates about individually, I love you all, the passion unspeakable. But,
he needs it, yeah.
But collectively, I loathe you with a horror that amounts to absolute detestation. What's really interesting about the Pirates dialogue is I thought it was way worse than the Pinafore dialogue and the Sorcerer dialogue.
Really?
But then the interesting thing about it is that it's not as sophisticated and there's not as much clear characterization of the characters, but my God, are they funny?
Yeah.
Like almost every scene is hysterical, and a lot of it is, as you say, like Frederic setting up.
Yeah. So in some ways, even though I've only given 15 for dialogue, he is a very important part in those scenes.
Yeah, and
you need him to be there to make the funny stuff funny.
I gave him an 8 for dramatic stakes.
7.
Because I feel like I could have given him a 10. That bit with Mabel is quite dramatic, and it is very sad that he has to go back with the Pirate King and Ruth. After he learns that he's only 5 years old.
Yeah, actually, I kind of feel like maybe it could have been higher than that, because
I don't know. But then
the stakes are high, but at the same time, he just sort of, he accepts it with a sort of stern kind of, and he accepts it. He's not fighting the way it is. He just thinks this is just I'm so torn, but I've just got to do it this way. It's
but
not
like
quite the same.
Rackstraw, like
he's not going off and Frederick's not going off and threatening to jump over.
Yeah. Like I feel like the stakes are higher for Rafe, Rackstraw and Pinafore than they are for Frederic and Pirates.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
An emotional complexity
that's largely
as
because
well.
of how he responds to the stakes.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he's just like, well, I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is.
But
it's
also,
not the same.
I think that what kind of taints Frederic slightly for me is the unreality of a lot of these characters, because they don't behave like humans.
No.
And what I find so lovely about a lot of these other characters is that you can relate to them, but in Pirates, all the characters are the same. They're just
Fredric's the most
obsessed with doing their duty. Yeah. And really, you would actually forsake the girl you adore and dob her father in because you're technically 5 years old, on a technicality.
Yeah, but that's the joke.
And I get that. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. And the plot is brilliant. I love that narratively, and I love that as a whole of the piece. But I do think it compromises Frederic as a character. I don't think that I connect to Frederic that much. I only gave him an emotional complexity of 6 because I just don't.
Oh, really? I gave him 8.
Okay.
He's pretty good. I know what you mean. He's not the most well-defined character, but he's still pretty clear. Like in terms in his doe-eyed innocence, he's
well defined in that, if you know what I mean. Like, he isn't just kind of bland. He is actually he is intentionally innocent, and that is the character, and that's the reason why he's so bound by the duty, is because of that. He thinks that this absolutely is just the way it has to be. So I think that's quite an important part for him as a character. Whereas he's not just a bland, doe-eyed tenor. He is innocent with a purpose. If you
he's a hero.
Yeah.
Like
in an old-fashioned sense.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
I get that. I gave him a 9 for enjoyment, though.
I gave him a 10.
Of course.
Just a lovely.
I did absolutely love Frederic. I'm happy he's top, because he is like the quintessential tenor part.
I agree. He is the... If a tenor is only ever going to do one GNS role, it's going to be Frederic.
And like Frederic,
you know, it's the part you want to do. It's a great role. It's a lovely, lovely sing.
And that has come from a genuine live tenor.
Objectively speaking, he is just all round the best.
Yeah, and I happen to know of other tenors as well who
would also say that. I agree. Me too. So
yeah, I think that is... I have to put my biases aside, being obsessed with Hilarion, and actually listen to.
I feel like you might be the minority there, Hilarion.
Let me know in the comments if you think Hilarion should have won, rather than coming in. What did he come in?
9th or something.
8th place. Thank you so much. Let me know if you enjoyed David's presence, or if you didn't. I'm kidding. Of course we enjoyed.
I'm going to say probably the only video I'm going to be in, because I mean, I've got expertise in anything else really.
I don't know. Hey, like if you like, let me know what I should bring David back for, because I really enjoyed having David.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It's been really nice. And let me know generally if you like this format and you like to see me having conversations with people instead of just having conversations with myself.
And your cats.
And remember to click like and click subscribe, because typically my videos are getting, 300 views, yet I only have 109 subscribers. So, it does make me feel nice when I subscribe,
Rachel.
Thank you. Because, every time someone clicks subscribe, I get like a little dopamine hit. Ooh, that's nice. Thank you for watching. And, wait to drink your water. For goodness sake. And we will see you. Well, I will see you. I don't know where David's going to be. He'll crop up in the video, I'm sure. But until then, goodbye.
Ta-da.